Good morning, everyone. Thank you and welcome to all who have landed here. Today we're going to be working on a page, and I'm going to lift you up just a little bit. We're going to be working on a page called Pink Frost. So I hope you enjoy it. Sit back, relax, and let's begin. I'm working on a background that is very thick, so it's not my typical journal page. I've got some pre-torn and selected pieces, but I'm not quite sure what I'm going to end up with. So I've selected some pieces, but I do not quite know what I'm going to end up with. So I've got also some scraps that I definitely want to incorporate. So I'll be showing you how to do that. And right now I'm just placing some things down to see and get a good feel of the process that I want to do. Now this over here has some beautiful stars, so I don't want to take this flush to the edge. I don't want to cover up those beautiful stars. This one has nothing here, so I can take it to the edge. But I have to be careful that I'm not going to be out of balance in my images. So I'm gluing strategic areas, but leaving others unglued so that I can tuck stuff in. Some of these images are so beautiful that it's hard to decide what you want to showcase and what is okay to cover up. And I don't like to waste a lot of paper underneath another image. I do want some of these stars to show. So basically this morning I chose papers that look like they went well together. And then I tore them, some of them I cut, and I said to myself, I'm just gonna lay them where they end up and see what I can come up with. Now with these bells, I cut it out in a curve, but I'm not happy with that because I want a snow effect that I can only get from tearing. So by tearing a certain direction, I get that white edge to come through that has the effect of a snowy image. And so that's what I'm gonna do. I'm going to tear it so that I get that snowy image frosty effect. With cutting, you don't get that frosty white edge. And normally, I'll want to do something as far as using distressed inks to cover up the white. But today, I want that white. And I am going to save that scrap. And this scrap. And you'll get to see how I incorporate those in it and not ruin the image that I'm trying to create. Now this piece here was originally a part of that piece, but I separated it out because I did not want it underneath the deer, like this underneath. It's a beautiful image that I wanted to bring out and incorporate it back into the image that it came from. So that's a technique you can do. Reincorporate the image you took off and give it a whole different perspective. I don't want to cover up these beautiful antlers. And I want to get the spire in there. So I'm just going to play around with placement. I may not put this here because it interferes with the antler. And if I don't interfere with the antler, I lose my spire. So these are the things that you want to think about when placing images down, is what does it cover up and what does it reveal? And that's definitely a no-no. This is an edge piece, so I could bring it to an edge like that, and then it is beautiful. Do not be afraid to overlap your images from one to another. It adds interest and depth. So don't be afraid of that, especially if the part that is covering up does not interfere with the strategic part of the image. So play with your images, move them around, see what they affect. You see how this image is going under this one, but it's going over that one. I love that effect. That's not easy to achieve, but it just ended up as I slid it into place that ended up going over and that went under because that's what I was trying to achieve. Now I like the bells here. I like the frosty edge. It's okay that it's covering up this bowl here, but I don't like that it's covering up the antlers. So I'm going to remedy that. I still have my frosty edge. I like the effect of the white showing through just because we are dealing with snow. So think about these things when you're doing a winter scene. Tear your papers to get that white to show up because then it looks like it's snow covered, it's frosty. It has a wonderful and beautiful effect on it. Okay, so that is where the bells are going to go, just like that. And this was a scrap from cutting out the bells. So I'm adding my scraps back in, not only to keep waste from happening, but also to add interest and depth. Now there's a line right here, and I'm going to show it to you, that is very troubling to me. It's this line right here that's coming off of this image. And I'm bothered by it. So when I'm bothered by something, I pay attention to it, because that means that it's not harmonious with what I'm working with. Now, by taking off that edge, that is the effect. Do you see how you can soften an edge by tearing it off? Now, because this piece is nothing but white, I'm going to save it. I may not use it, but I may, because it's white. I was reminiscing about how fast this year has gone by, and I don't know if anyone else has felt that it's just gone way too fast. But I was thinking to myself yesterday that I'm not ready for the holidays. I just don't feel it. But this morning, in getting these images out and playing with them, I'm now getting ready. So I am taking this edge and roughing it up just by scraping it. Not only does it get rid of the excess, but it makes it blend. Okay. Now, here comes what I call the fun part. And it is blending scraps with your page. So I've got this one that I may end up tearing into, which I am gonna do. And you can, and it's okay that it broke, you can add it back to images and you see how that changes. It adds some interest and dimension to the piece. and you're using your scraps. How do I know where to place it? I don't unless I just play with it. I'm putting straight edge to straight edge. So that's how I made that decision. Straight edge to straight edge. I could have put that here, but I wanted more interest in the opposite area. Okay, let's see what else I've got that I can play with. This has an edge that almost mirrors this edge. And bear with me as I close the door. Trying to block out some of the noise. Okay. So there is a line here that when I put this down, the line continues. And so I'm gonna go ahead and place that down. And make sure that that line is line to line. And then I've got a frosty edge here that works really well. So I enjoy adding the scraps because it really challenges me to think outside the box. And you see how beautiful that image is? It's got some pinks and some gold, as well as blues and grays. So I'm just gonna move this around and see where I like it. Now your scraps do not have to go with the exact image that you're putting it onto. So we're melding this image with this image by putting this one on top. The image does not match, but it does not have to. That's what makes interest and intrigue on your pages, is the images do not have to match. So let's see what else. I'm gonna break this apart. So you can break apart your scraps so that they go better where you want to place them. So now I have a scrap of an edge that looks like some wood, but it's got some snow dripping down. So I'm going to make sure that that snow is dripping downward and not upward by placing it in the right direction. And this little piece is going right over that edge of that bell, which melds it to this piece, which really adds some great interest. Okay, now I have this piece. I was using a glue stick the other night to test it out. It's brand new. I won't tell you which brand, but by the time I got it to the page, the glue had already lost its stickiness. So I was beside myself wondering what happened with this glue that it won't even stick paper. And so when I put my fingers on it, because it wouldn't lay down, I saw that the stickiness was completely gone from it. Now this is a very large edge piece, and I'm taking a huge chance and using it with its large stature. So let's see what I can get away with here. So I'm gonna tuck this underneath this image, continue this line, and continue that line so it looks like it's a part of it, but yet it's not. Okay, that's what I'm gonna do. So use the lines you already have. And just meld them together as if they originally were meant to be. So let's see if I can't get this lined up again. This one goes underneath. This line and this line are lining up. And these lines are lining up. So it looks like I cut out this frame, but I really didn't. So for a closer look, so you can see that piece I just laid down and how it just flows right along with and adds some interest right in here. I was originally thinking that I might want these over here, but look what happens when I place them over here. And I think I'm liking that better, a lot better. So move your images around. And it's okay that this is going to lay outside the frame because it does add interest. Don't be afraid to use your fussy cut images and go outside of a border that's already there. So I'm going to show you what that does. Okay, so there it is outside that border and outside that border. But watch what happens when I put it inside. It loses its charm. So then I place it right back outside its borders, and you add instant charm to an image. So play with the placement before you decide definitively. You don't always have to be in a hurry to get something stuck down. Now what I'm doing is taking it and making sure for balance that it's on this edge and on that edge. I've got a few more pieces, and I did challenge myself that I would definitely use everything. So let's see. I believe both of these, this one has a little bit of pink on it. So I'm going to go outside the box, and I'm going to start, I'm going to continue that snow line. That's what I'm going to do. This snow line right here, I'm going to continue that snow line so that you can't tell that these are scraps that I'm using. So now that snow line continues out. But I'm not so sure. I've got to act quickly. Nope, it's too late. That's where they're gonna stay. Okay, now, I wasn't planning on this. Now I do have these mirrors that I think are so beautiful that I want to add one. And I just have to decide which one I want to add. And you can place it on your page to see which one actually is beautiful, delicate. And I'm thinking I want this one. This one I'm not going to use because it's completely torn. I'm thinking I want something here in the middle. But I don't want to cover up those bells. I don't want to mess with the lamps. That's out of balance. is perfect. So move it around and see where you want to place things. Okay, now I have another, but I've got to be strategic about what color I choose. I want to do a stamping, and I've got some snowflake images for stamps. That's a flower, so that's probably not going to work as well. This is more of the snowflake. And let's see if I can put that on something so you can see. I don't know if that shows up well or not. It's got a snowflake pattern on it. I was going to use this piece, but it started to clash, and I'll show you what I mean. It just, the color of it was not sitting well with me. I was going to tuck it in somewhere, but I just could not work with it. So I decided I'll use it on another piece. So let me get my block. Okay. I don't want to use a pink ink. So let me see what I've got. And I don't necessarily want to use gray. That's a purple. So I'm going to swatch it. And when I say swatch it, I mean I'm going to stamp it on a paper. I'm going to use the back of this because this is the same paper, so I'm going to get the same effect. So I'm going to swatch this to make sure it is the color before I lay it down. This doesn't look like a real vibrant color. It looks dark, but yet it's not coming off as dark. So let's see what it looks like. It may be a gray. And it is a light gray. So I do like that color with all of these colors because I don't want it to be so bold that that's the first thing you see. So now that I know that is the color, I'm going to go ahead and ink it back up. So test your things before you actually do them. Test your watercolors on the exact type of paper you're going to be using. Use the back of something. That's the front. And I'll use that in another project. So use the backs of images that you know you're not going to use to swatch. And that way, when you do put it down, you are not shocked at the result. You're not horrified. I've been there. I'm like, ooh, I don't like that. Okay. So that's a pretty light gray. And we're going to place it. I was going to do this, but I'm actually going to turn it like this. And I don't have to be within the borders of that particular paper. I can go off of it. And with this block, I have learned that if you don't rock it, you don't get a complete image. And there it is. Beautiful snowflake pattern. Okay. I am tempted to add more and more, but I'm not going to. I was going to add some bling, but I think it is the the way that I wanted it to turn out. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is Pink Frost. I hope you have enjoyed your time here. I hope you've had a relaxing, fun tutorial and a walk through my mind process. I enjoyed every bit of it. Have a wonderful afternoon. And for those of you that are celebrating Thanksgiving as I am, I'm here in Texas, United States. And so I wish every one of you a wonderful Thanksgiving for those of you celebrating. And for those of you who don't, have a wonderful Thanksgiving anyhow. So my name is Kelly, and I will see you on the next one.